Thought I'd show you a really quick exercise in painting reflections in watercolour. I've already painted my landscape and I'm made sure it's totally dry, and now I've kept some of my colours in the mixes here because we'll need those to reflect. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to wet where the water is going to be, which is all of the white space on the paper. I've got my paper at a 45-degree angle or a little bit more severe than that, because that will help the reflection run and make it a little bit more interesting. We'll go in with the cerulean blue at the bottom where the sky is, because don't forget it's a mirror image. Keep it nice and soft. I like to keep the water paler than the land or the sky, just so it looks a bit more light and reflective. So put a bit there, and then we'll go in with our purple mix, which was ultramarine and crimson, and we'll drop that in. We'll start dropping it in and let the colours run naturally. It doesn't have to look exactly like the land. A lot of people think it's got to be perfect, but it doesn't need to. As long as it gives a good idea of what's around it, and it's in roughly the right place and in roughly the right shape, it makes a really nice reflection. The greens I've dropped in are a mixture of cadmium yellow and ultramarine and lemon yellow and ultramarine. Lift out any runs that there might be, and then the foreground little island is ultramarine and cadmium yellow. So we'll drop some of that in, roughly in the right place. You can see how the runs of the paint are starting to look a little bit more like the trees. So we can put in some of the darker brown, which is burnt sienna and ultramarine. If you notice, I leave a little bit of a white gap between my land and my water, because it just helps it look a little bit more reflective and a little bit lighter. So I'll drop a lemon yellow green mix in, just in places, just to lift it out a little bit. Now that's dried very lightly, so if I just dampen that area again, I'm going to put on some of that darker green once more and let that run. The thing is, when you're diluting your paint with water and you're wetting the paint as well, the chances are it's going to dry a lot lighter than you wanted to put it on. So just be aware of that when you're making your colours, that you may have to make them a little bit stronger or just work over them again. The aim of having the paper wet is to let it run, which is quite an essential thing with this idea of reflection that I'm showing you. And then once this is dry, we can start thinking about making the water look like it's moving. We don't need to make it move a lot, but we do that through lifting out. So with a damp brush, I'm using my flat brush, my round brush, sorry, but I'm making it flat by just pinching the two parts of the upper and the bottom part of the bristles together. And now I'm going to just stroke with a few lines, small amount of water on the brush, we'll skim across the water just so it looks like a few water lines that we're lifting out, agitates the reflection. cuts into some of the other areas of the reflection as well. Helps to make the water move and reflect. You don't want to go too mad with this, otherwise it would it spoils the effect. But you need to make sure your lines are horizontal. With water, water only runs horizontal. If it's not horizontal, it's then a waterfall. So you can see we've made the water a little bit more reflective with lifted out highlights. Just softens the edges a little bit and makes it all work together. So there we go, a quick way of how to do reflections in watercolour.